Welcome to the Teachers on Fire podcast, where I profile agents of growth and transformation in education today. Each guest shares their highs, their lows, their passions, their goals, and the resources that are shaping their thinking and inspiring their practice. For show notes and links from each episode, visit teachersonfire.net. You can also follow the show at Teachers on Fire on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And of course, please subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm your host, Tim Cavey. Let's meet today's guest. Today, I'm speaking with Travis Jordan. Travis is a superintendent, speaker, education commissioner, conformity breaker, and status quo shaker. How is that for disruption in education? Follow Travis on Twitter at Superintendent Jordan, and that's spelled SUPT_Jordan, and on his blog at tjordan.org. Travis, thanks so much for coming on the show today. Are you ready to talk education?
Hey, Tim, absolutely. I'm always ready to talk education. Thanks for having me on today.
Well, it's a great pleasure, Travis. I've been looking forward to this one for the last couple of months. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit more about your current context? What does that look like for you on a daily basis?
Sure. I currently the superintendent in Beulah Public Schools, or at Beulah in Beulah, North Dakota. Just for reference sake, Beulah's got about 750 students here. It's actually one of the bigger schools in the state of North Dakota. So I'm sure a lot of your listeners are well above that, but we are like one of the top 15 schools in terms of people. We're located between Bismarck and Dickinson, just a little north on a Highway 49, and so we're kind of out in the prairie. We are in coal country, hence we are the Beulah Miners, and so just superintendent by day and father by night and husband by night, and just going with the flow.
Okay, well, before we go any further, I'd like to hear a little bit from your story, Travis. So if you wouldn't mind, share with us about a low moment or an experience of adversity that you faced somewhere in your teaching or education career, and describe how you overcame it.
Sure. This one's pretty easy for me. In 2010, I started my first job as a principal I got in Griggs County Central, Cooperstown, North Dakota. And about the first couple weeks on the job, I had a female student, and she was also my neighbor, come to my office, and she was crying and distraught, and definitely had some things going on. And I tried to help her, and I couldn't get the what and the why and the how out of her because she was crying, and I got her in touch with our counselor and that sort of thing, and I even called her mother. But later that night, she showed up on my doorstep and asked if she could come in and tell me the what, the why, and the how. And we were just about ready to eat supper as a family, so I told her that I'd help her in the morning. And unfortunately, I got a call the next morning, and she had gone home and taken her own life. It's a
Oh my God.
thing that basically opened my eyes. It really, it's really changed the way I perceive education, and I think we get it wrong sometimes. I think we focus so much on the what and the numbers and the standardized tests, and we fail to really dive into the whole child. And so from that day forward, I've just been on a mission to make finding a child's passion and making sure connection is more important than content. And I truly just believe that the more we connect with kids, um, the better off their well-being will be, but also we will put them on a faster track to high achievement. And so that is a profound moment, I guess, in my teaching career or my education career. And like I said, from that day forward, I've just been on this mission to just change our priorities in education. So.
I think you make a great point, Travis, that we serve people first in this business. And, we hear cliches like that so often, but we forget so quickly. And it really does come back to relationships and helping the whole child. Absolutely. Now, I want to park on that for a second because I'm thinking about all the educators who have had some kind of an incident that really scars them or affects them deeply. Is this incident something that you have let go of? Is it something that you've worked through, or is it a continuous journey for you? Because clearly, for something like that to happen, that's not something you can just shake off easily. So, talk about that journey.
Yeah, I tell you what, I always have asked myself if I could have done something, if I could have heard her story in that moment that she showed up on my door, if that would have saved her life. And I'll never get that out of my head. I mean, it'll be there forever. And fortunately, I've grown to be very good friends with her family. And I just, you know, it's like I said, it's never going to escape my mind. But I think about all the students that are similar to her and that are still here,
Mm-hmm.
walking through the hallways of our school. And no matter how bad a day I may have as a superintendent, um, more than likely there's kids that are walking through the hallways that are having worse days and are in those same dark moments that she may have been in.
Right.
And we now know the statistics that 1 in 5 kids come through our doors with mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And even crazier is that 1 in 5 adults are. And so I just make it a point, like if I have a bad day, I know darn well that there's many other people out there that are having worse days, and this is not a job; it's a calling, and I need to be there for those kids. And so, in a way, it was a very dark moment in my life, and I will never forget it, and I'll never forget her, and I'll always wonder if I could have done something different. But I carry forward with me a passion to do something different for all the kids that are still living on this earth.
Well, I love that idea that her legacy is shaping your practice and giving you inspiration and motivation every day and every year. So that is not a silver lining, certainly with a story like that, but I think it's the best possible take and the best possible response. So I commend you for that. And yeah, thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Travis, on Tuesday, May 14th, you tweeted, "This game of life can be difficult to navigate. The struggle is real. It's not just kids. Many times I've felt like throwing in the towel, but I can't help but think there's some kid out there that needs me to stay strong for them. So I do, and it's so worth it." I love your message here, Travis, and I'm going to ask you to keep going with that. What can you say to those teachers out there who have had a difficult year? Maybe they're feeling a little burned out and are considering leaving the profession.
Yeah, I remember very well tweeting that on May 14th. I had a rough day myself, and I think it's people sometimes look at superintendents and teachers and that they are immune to the world's problems because
Right.
we come into the school and they tell us to fake it until we make it. And I think we just give our kids this sense of false hope when we do that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, why not be real and feel and let our students and teachers help us heal? I mean, and so I tweeted that, yeah, because I have had moments. I mean, I've sat in my office here crying, uh, stressed out and anxiety stricken, and wondering if this is what I need to continue to do with my life. And like I just said earlier in the question, I truly believe that it's not a job, it's a calling, and that I'm here for a purpose, and all of our teachers are here for a purpose. And so, if I had advice to teachers, I would let them know that remember that it's a calling and it's not a job, but also to let them know that, hey, it's okay to be human. You don't have to come into the classroom every day with a smile on your face and to fake it until you make it. I just dislike that advice. Our students need to see us as human beings. They need to see us struggle,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to see us overcome struggle. We paint this picture that everything is rosy when you become an adult, and man, if only we could really tell them what life is like sometimes when you're an adult. But I I just think that we are going to have bad days. We're going to have days where we want to throw in the towel, And it's okay to show that. It's okay to wear that every single day. But remember that that the problems that you're dealing with as an adult, like I said earlier, your kids are going through some similar problems or even worse problems. Maybe they don't have a home. Maybe they're coming from an abusive environment. And by helping others, we can help ourselves. And actually, by listening to somebody's story might be our own best medicine. And so, I think it's important for them to stay with it, connect with people, and to be human. And I think that's the best advice I can give any teacher.
Sounds like good advice. Travis, as a superintendent, I'm interested to hear what you look for and strive to cultivate in your principals and vice principals. Now, I have a bit of a self-interest on this question. I'm a teacher who is also an aspiring administrator myself. So, in your mind, what are the most important qualities of a 21st century leader in education? And I know you could write a book about this, but if you were to boil it down to a couple of qualities, what do you look for when you're in that hiring position looking for principals and vice principals?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a lot to this question, and there's a lot that could go into being a leader. And I guess I always go by a couple different quotes that I've either come across or written myself or whatever. But and when I look at my principals, and I want them to be leaders. I don't want them to be managers. And what I mean by that is sometimes when you talk to a manager, you get an impression that they are important. But when you talk to a leader, you get an impression that you are important. And so I want my principals to lead with conviction, but also lead with empathy. I think great leaders talk less and listen more. I think they criticize less and prioritize or praise more. And I think they reject less and empower more. I mean, I want my principals to encourage, empower, and empathize with all of the individuals that they deal with on a day-to-day basis. Leading, we get this notion that leading has to be a top-down approach, but I mean, sometimes the best leading starts at the bottom. I mean, leaders can't be afraid to ask for directions. I mean, and I think we tend to do that. But and aside from that, I want my principals to understand that test scores do not define our students. And test scores do not define our school, and they do not define our teachers. And I really want them to dive into the whole child and prioritize finding a passion more important than finding a GPA. And so, um, and we've got a great group of principals here. I'm fortunate here. I've got three principals in my school system that are they're on top. I mean, they have a great attitude and a great mindset, and they do great work here for us. So I'm pretty darn fortunate in that respect.
Very cool. So, Travis, as you look across your district and your entire PLN, what excites you about education today? And, we're wrapping up the school year. So is there something in particular that you look back on this year and you'd like to celebrate?
Yeah, there's lots of things we can celebrate. Uh, One of the things that we've done here in Beulah is we've actually started a behavioral mental health program where we actually bring our local clinic into the school. And counselors across the nation are overwhelmed and underpaid, and they have backed up lines in their office dealing with students that have some mental health issues. And so we knew we had to do something, and that was to partner with our local clinic and bring a licensed psychologist, a licensed counselor on board and help us through some of these issues that we're dealing with our students. And also, they have a little bit more clout in terms of if they have to recommend a student for further treatment. A school can recommend it, but it doesn't necessarily get done. A doctor can come in and say, yeah, it has to get done. And so that program has been awesome. And now we've actually trying to span it out to include like addiction counseling, but we also do career counseling and that sort of thing. And so it's really taken off. And I know there's a couple other schools in the state of North Dakota that are doing that. Um, One other thing is not necessarily to our district that I think we can celebrate is a few probably 5 months ago, I guess I had this idea that I was looking at our graduation requirements in the state of North Dakota, and there's two diplomas that you can get, and there's really not one that's personalized and competency based. And so I enlisted a group of superintendents from around the state, and a couple different agencies, a lot of people that are smarter than me, uh, to help me with this. But now there's a group of us that are really trying to change the way we graduate. We say we personalize learning in classrooms, but at the end of the day, when they graduate, they all have to fit into the same box for a diploma. And
Right.
so it doesn't really make sense to me. And so what we're trying to do is give children the opportunity, or students the opportunity, to have like an internship their senior year or their junior year, and to maybe not take the classes that they know they're not going to need, but just create a personalized competency based approach to graduation. And there's a lot of work to be done with that, but we are definitely on the path to do that, and it's exciting, and we hope to have something in place within a year or two, and it should be pretty cool. So those are some things, I guess, that I could say, look back on the year and celebrate. And there's many more, but those two stand out to me, I guess, more than anything.
Those are very exciting. I love the sounds of both initiatives that you described. And one word caught my attention. You mentioned addiction counseling. And I was talking to some high school teachers yesterday who were, just sharing about some of the issues that they see. I work in a middle school, so I don't see quite the same issues, but I think sometimes we forget that our students are struggling with addictions as well. And yeah, it keeps coming back to meeting the needs of the whole child, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And as you've said a couple of times, recognizing that anxiety is, in some cases or in some places, anxiety rates are going up, and our young people are struggling with, new addictions of different kinds that you and I couldn't imagine when we were their age. So I think building a robust counseling program has to be a part of every healthy school community. Absolutely. Love what you're doing there. So moving into the next area, Travis, how are you looking to grow professionally and improve your practice this summer and thinking ahead into next year? Can you share about a specific professional goal or an area or maybe some kind of a project that you're working on? What's in your crosshairs right now?
Oh man, I've got a lot of conferences lined up for this summer. But I really, professionally, I really want to grow on that second thing that I talked about in this last question, is how can we create an environment for school where a kid comes into our doors and we take their interests and their passions and we wrap the curriculum around them, rather than force fitting them into a curriculum that exists already.
Hmm.
Trying to mirror and marriage their passions to our curriculum and create a truly personalized learning environment, and competency-based approach to education. And so I've got a couple of things lined up this summer. We've got some meetings with our super or with our yeah the graduation requirements committee that we lined up. But and then also, I love to read. I read a lot of books, and I'm currently writing a book, and so that's a personal goal of mine, is to finish that. But yeah, I just want to stay grounded in education, and truly try to find a way to make school more meaningful for our kids. And so lots of things planned this summer, lots of conferences, so it should be fun.
Now, you mentioned the book, Travis. Is there anything you can tell us about that, or is that highly classified still?
No, I could tell you about it. I'm almost done. Well, actually, it should be going to publish here in probably a week or so. But the title of the book is Connection Over Conformity.
Hmm.
And honestly, I had trouble finding a publisher for it, because most publishers in education want research and they want data. And man, I don't think the fixes in education really center around research and data. I think they center around how we act and how we treat each other, and empathy and character. And I always use the acronym like DATA, DATA, doesn't actually tell us anything about character. And I think character is way more important. And so my whole book centers around creating an environment in school where we truly value the person and not the program. And if we value the person first, the programs will succeed. And so, yeah, I don't know. I've been insecure about it, and I've actually written two books and thrown them away and finally I just decided that I got to do this. If my mom's the only one that reads it, then she's the only one that reads it. But I, at least I can say that I feel like I've answered the call that's been burning inside of me for years to write this. And been fortunate enough to have a lot of educators from around the nation endorse it. And so, yeah, it should be out here this summer for sure. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, I love the title, Connection Over Conformity. And I've been thinking a lot this year about how schools perpetuate cultures of compliance. And it sounds like maybe that is a part of your focus, but I do look forward to that coming out, Travis. And I think you're right about what you said about some of the books that our education publishers are putting out. My take would be that, we need graduate level research. We need the as you say, the data. But the reality is that your average teacher, your average educator who is, as we say, in the trenches, busy with 100 responsibilities at once, it's difficult to connect with graduate level literature. And I'm so thankful for the kinds of books that are coming out that are written in accessible language with, let's say, unresearched anecdotes and very practical strategies that meet teachers where they are and meet educators where they are. And so I like the sound of where you're going with that. So I like to shift the conversation away from education, if we can, Travis, a little bit, just to give us a little bit more insight into the kind of person that you are. Outside of education, what's another area of learning and passion for you? What is it that ignites you outside of the school and brings you alive as a human being? Tell us about this area, why it interests you, and why you enjoy it.
Yeah. My life centers around school. I mean, 24/7. I've got school, and then when I'm not at school, I've got 4 kids of my own that are all under the age of 11 at home. And so I really, I don't really have time for another passion. And so, other than spending time with my family and all my kids are in sporting events and we travel around all over the place with them. I really have no other time to dive into anything I mean, I'm a sports fan. I'm passionate about sports. I coached basketball and golf in my life, and I love both of those sports. And so I try to do as many of those things as I can with my kids, and that does fuel me. I mean, because I'm in a position in this world to make their lives better through education too. And so,
Mm-hmm.
um, I outside of spending time with my family and running around to all their sporting events and games and concerts and gymnastics and dances, and it's crazy, but yeah, that keeps me fueled enough.
And then on a similar vein, Travis, and this might bring us back to your practice. It may not, we'll see, but share about a personal habit or some kind of productivity hack that contributes to your success. Is there an app or a routine that you really rely on to make it all happen?
No. um, as far as productivity goes, I just try to keep myself as organized as possible. I guess I have a personal habit of being on Twitter. I absolutely love Twitter, um, and so I make that part of my day every single morning. I get to school, and I go through my Twitter feeds, and particularly a hashtag that I'll probably mention later on here too, a JoyfulLeaders hashtag, and that contributes to my success because it puts me in a mindset in the mornings, uh, uh, growth mindset, and ready to go for the day. And so something that I make a part of every single my day is going on Twitter in the morning and seeing all the things that some of my friends have posted and are learning, and it fuels me for the day. So, as far as productivity, yeah, I just try to keep myself organized. You know, in the size school that I'm in right now, I don't have an assistant superintendent. A lot of schools that are bigger than ours have assistant superintendents. I end up wearing a lot of different hats here at the school, and so my day can kind of get crazy. But I just try to stay as grounded as possible as I can. So if there is an app out there that that helps me with that, that'd be perfect to know. So
All right. Well, I'll keep that in mind, and I'm definitely with you on starting the day at Twitter. I'm an advocate for developing an edu-only Twitter account that, when you log in, when you open it up, all you see is education. I mean, we can get distracted by sports or Donald Trump or all these other topics, but if all I've got in my feed is education, then usually there's something in a very short time that is inspiring and encouraging, something that I can take away for the day. So
Right.
I'm definitely with you there. Teachers on Fire, before we continue, I want to share an important announcement from the Teach Better team. Are you looking to reach more students, innovate your instruction, and teach better? Then join the Teach Better team on November 8th to 9th in Northeast Ohio for the first ever Teach Better conference. Join dynamic educators such as Dave Burgess, Tal Thompson, Adam Welcome, and many more. Register now at teachbetterconference.com. Be sure to use discount code FIRE50, that's FIRE50, to save $50 on either of the 2-day registration options. Are you ready to be better? Travis, it's time for your quick picks. And here we want to know about the education voices and resources that are shaping your practice and inspiring your thinking today. So starting at Twitter, tell us about someone there that we should follow and share why they've been inspiring you lately.
Oh man, there's so many on Twitter.
We just talked about this.
Yeah, picking one is crazy, but you can follow the hashtag JoyfulLeaders. You'll find them all. But Bethany Hill, she's the one that created the Joyful Leaders hashtag. She's definitely one to follow. She is inspiring. She puts out messages every day that like I said, fuel me and get me going and remind me of my purpose. Danny Steele's another one that that follows that hashtag, and just so many other ones. Todd Nessaloni, all of those guys, and thankfully and fortunately and humbly, they've actually endorsed my book for me too. And so I follow them, and they've yeah. And if you're not following them, I would suggest that you follow them today. So yeah, some awesome people there for sure.
Those are some great ones. I'm honored to be in a Voxer group with Bethany, so I do see stuff from her often between there and Twitter, and I love your other votes as well. Those are can't miss people to follow, absolutely. Point us to an edtech tool that you currently love using somewhere in your professional practice. Now, I asked you about the productivity point, and you said that you don't necessarily rely on one particularly, but is there something else that applies somewhere else in your practice, Travis?
Yeah, I guess for an ed tech tool, I would say I just discovered, and I know it's been around for a long time, so I'm kind of been left in the dark on it. But Swivl is a device that we can use for recording conferences, recording speeches, having teachers use it in their classroom to record them, giving lessons, and then they can upload it to any portal that they want to upload it to. But it's definitely a way for you to record yourself and then go back and take a look at the video and reflect on it and find ways that you could have done better or what you did well. But Swivl, it's SWIVL. I'm sure everybody that's hearing your podcast probably knows about it. I didn't, but Swivl is definitely an ed tech tool that I would say is a game changer right now.
That is very cool. I only learned about it about a couple of weeks ago, and it was in connection with another app called SibMe. Now, and SibMe is a platform that records teacher practice in the classroom. So is that something that you are doing between your schools and divisions, recording teacher practice on video?
Well, we do have classrooms that are recording. We're not necessarily using it as an admin team to help with instructional design and practice and suggestions and observations, but we do have teachers that use like Swivl and flip their classrooms, and so. We give our teachers all the autonomy in the world. We tell them that they have the right to do whatever they want in their classroom as long as it's not illegal or immoral.
I like that.
And we do that. We try to encourage them to just jump outside of their comfort zones because we know if they do, our students will. And so we want them to take risks and we want them to fail and bounce back. And so, yeah, we have some that are recording themselves and looking back on it. Not every one of them does. Not everyone's comfortable with it yet, but some are, and some have dove into it, and it's been pretty good for them. So.
Very cool. Recommend a book, one that you've been reading lately, Travis, or perhaps one of your all-time faves that you have to recommend for our audience.
I've read a lot of books, but I guess the one that I'm currently reading right now is it's called "Fail Till You Don't," and it's by Bobby Bones. Um, and the reason I like it is because I see a lot of me in him in his writing. That he's just writing to have a conversation with his reader. He's not there to throw research at the reader. He's not there to throw data. But it's just you read the book, it's like you're sitting at a table and having a conversation with him, and it's really given me some ideas for my own book writing, where I was very insecure about what I was writing, and so I threw two books away. But after reading his book and been reading his book, I realized that this type of genre and this type of writing is is great. I mean, it brings you in as a reader, and that's what I want in my readership is somebody to feel like, hey, I'm just sitting at a table having a conversation with Travis, and that book, "Fail Till You Don't" by Bobby Bones certainly does that. So that's one book I would recommend if nobody's reading it right now, for sure.
Okay, awesome. Tell us about a YouTube channel that you enjoy, Travis, maybe one that you are subscribed to, or are you just the kind that logs in and hunts around for what you need and then logs out again? Are you a subscriber or a hunter?
I am more of a hunter,
Okay,
but and I've never really gotten into the YouTube thing, but now like my kids are like on YouTube all the time,
right.
and so and unfortunately, well, I guess fortunately, I do follow a couple YouTube channels. One of them is this guy that Zach Hample is, I think his name is. He goes around to baseball stadiums collecting baseballs, and it's I don't know why, but my kids are hooked on it. And I remember as a little kid, I always wanted to get a baseball at a ballpark, and so. This guy's gotten like 1,500 baseballs at ballparks, and it's crazy. I just now he's got me hooked, and I'm watching it, and my kids love it, and so my kids love it. I try to love it too, so I can connect with them too. So
Well, and they must be Dude Perfect fans too, right?
yeah, that's always on our television is Dude Perfect stuff. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with Dude Perfect is five guys out of Texas, I think Waco, if I remember correctly, and or thereabouts, and they are nothing but fun sports stunts, and maybe some of it can't even be called sports, but they've done a great job of developing their content over time as well. But I'll take a look for Baseball Guy. What did you say the name of his channel was?
Zach Hample is his name.
Zach Hample. Okay, great.
You'll find it. Find baseball collecting guy or type that in, and you'll find it.
Okay. And then the last one, and maybe there's not a lot of time for this, Travis, but when the kids are all down for bed and you've got some time with the wife, what are you watching on Netflix these days?
Nothing on Netflix, but my wife and I, we do have a couple shows that we would watch together. We watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. I'm not afraid to admit that, but that is something that her and I have watched together. We don't watch a lot of it. We don't watch much TV. If I do watch TV, it's usually sports. So
All right. That fits the family profile, watching sports in the summer. But I think that's probably a good thing. It's a good sign if you don't have a long list that you're going to on a regular basis. It means you're enjoying the outdoors and all these other activities as well, right? Travis, this has been fun to connect with you and get to know you a little bit better. For other listeners looking to connect, where is the best place for them to go?
probably Twitter is the main one. At you mentioned it earlier at Soup Jordan, SUPT_Jordan, and then I do have a blog, tjordan.org, and I have a Facebook page, Mr. Jordan's Blogs. If you search for that, you'll find it. But yeah, and then maybe stay tuned for my book to come out, and I'll post that on my Twitter feed. So if I can get one more reader besides my mom and my wife, that'd be awesome. So
Well, I'm sure that will happen, Travis. I love what you're putting out there on Twitter and just the transparency and the courage that you are bringing into education. It came out in what you shared here with me this morning. So thank you so much for sharing your time and your heart with the podcast today. This has been fun and enlightening, and I look forward to connecting with you more. Take care, Travis, and let's talk again soon.
hey, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks for joining me today here on the Teachers on Fire podcast. For show notes and links from this episode, visit teachersonfire.net. You can also follow the show at Teachers on Fire on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And again, please do subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. Just before we sign off today, I'd like to thank all those who encourage and support the podcast on Twitter. Dave Burgess recently tweeted, listen to #RealEduAuthor author at Tara Martin EDU on this Teachers on Fire episode. Great stuff. And he adds a number of hashtags related to book snaps, TLAB, DBC, and so forth. And Kaylin Keplinger, that's at KE Keplinger, tweets, if you haven't already, check out the amazing Teachers on Fire episode with Tara Martin. I loved how real she was and can't wait to implement some of her ideas with my own students. #RealEdu. Thanks so much for this encouragement, Dave and Kaylin. You are the fuel to my fire, so thank you so much. I will also invite you to check out the new Teachers on Fire magazine on Medium. This week, we featured 3 stories. The first is from Riley Dewick, at Mr. Riley Dewick. He writes a story called Growth Mindset and Emotional Regulation, Easier Said Than Done. Riley's got a great story here from a recent ski trip, and he makes some brilliant connections with his professional practice. Very entertaining. From Lynn Thomas, that's at TomLynn101, on the Teachers on Fire magazine, she writes, G is for Galileo, and Lynn is slowly making her way through the alphabet from A to Z, or A to Z. Galileo had it figured out, Lynn writes, the best learning occurs when students become their own teachers. So check out that story. And then the third one from Caitlin Giordano, that's at Mrs._Giordano. She writes one called An Ode to Poetry. And I'll give you this quote, "Oh, poetry, you beautiful, expressionist, challenging, frustrating beast. Many struggle to find your deeper meaning, your hidden messages. Children sit in schools turned off and annoyed by your very existence, writing the same poems, haikus, year after year," end quote. Caitlin goes on to share about her transformative journey with poetry in her own practice. So definitely take a look at that one. The Teachers on Fire magazine is a Medium publication, and you'll find it on medium.com or on the Medium app. If you're already an education blogger, consider joining our growing writing team. You can continue to publish content on your own blog, and you keep full credit and ownership of your content on Medium. Message me at Teachers on Fire on any social media platform for more details. Again, I'm your host, Tim Cavey, and I'm so grateful that you decided to spend some of your day listening to this podcast. I hope that in some way the content you heard here helps you to teach like you're on fire, and I'll meet you next week right here on the Teachers on Fire podcast.